And you're very welcome back to episode number 4 of our Ladies Gaelic Podcast here on FinalWhistle.ie. Once again, Emma Kelly joins us on the podcast, and Joanne is back this week after her hen party antics the week before. You managed to survive it anyway, and you're back now to give us all the lowdown for all the goings on across the pitches and not anything to do with anything that went on the week prior.
Yes, exactly. We will not speak of the week prior, but I am quite glad I have football to keep me off the drink more often because I cannot be doing that to myself every weekend.
Or the bank
You're,
balance.
Yeah, exactly.
you're somewhat back in one piece anyway. That's the main thing.
Exactly. Glad to be back.
And straight back into discussing the weekend's antics. We suppose we had a shortened round of action the week we just had. Of course, Division 4, we had 4 games across there, and then the one game that was rescheduled from Division 1 between Armagh and Cork. I suppose we'll start there. We'll just go through that Division 1 game, and it was, of course, another win for Cork. They are unbeaten in Division 1 this year, a 2-8 to 1-9 result against Armagh, and a good result, Emma, for Cork. But as Greg mentioned after the game, maybe the same old mistakes are creeping in for Armagh, and they're at risk now of relegation danger.
Yeah, they're sitting in 3 points, but there's a couple of other teams on the same boat with them. But Greg will not be happy with it again. If they're constantly practicing stuff at training, you would hope that the old habits would be put to bed. But sometimes when the back's against the wall, the old habits creep in. So it's just trying to get a couple of leaders that say, do you know what it is? Calm the head and let's stick to what we've been working on instead of maybe going back to where it was. But fair play to Crossmaglen. I heard the pitch was in great condition after the weather and stuff, and Cork will be buzzing after making the journey up and again being unbeaten. As the manager said, they were probably one of the favourites to be relegated, and now they're sitting up second in the table behind Waterford.
Absolutely. And it was a fairly close game by all accounts throughout. Like, I know, Alana Donnelly had that goal in, I think it was the 26th minute, and Armagh went in 2 points up at the break, and Cork roared back into the second half, and it was the 2 goals that they got at the end, the 2 Rachels, first Rachel O'Regan, then Rachel Leahy, to give them the points in the finish up after the long trip to Armagh. I suppose, Joanne, like we mentioned a couple of weeks back, that people were writing off Cork before the division had even started, that they would be one of the teams sitting at the bottom end of the table. They're unbeaten at 7 points now in second place after this result. And like, to go up and beat a team like Armagh and make that long trip up and get that result, like, that'll give them some serious confidence now going into the rest of this campaign.
Oh, without a doubt. Like, you have to give it to Cork. Like, that journey alone, regardless of staying down the night before or not, like, it does take a toll on the body. And I'd say that's probably something that played on their mind going in down at half time, that they knew they didn't want to be travelling back down to Cork after losing a game like that, especially when it was put off the week before. But I think you just look at the difference in Cork, like they weren't messing around. Like, the range of scores they had compared to Armagh, like obviously the 2 Rachels, like Katie Quirk again, like Amy, and all, like they just seemed like they had a lot more threat. I feel like Armagh was just relying, and obviously Kelly Mallon did really, really well, but they were limited at who was really causing a threat to the Cork defence, and that's probably just maybe what they lacked a wee bit when they needed to kind of push on in that second half. But a massive confidence boost for Cork. And like we mentioned before, how the tables can turn very, very quickly, and like probably you wouldn't have tipped Armagh like to be. I mean, no, we mentioned after the first league game you wouldn't be worrying about that loss, but it can come back to bite you like halfway through the league. Like, you would want to be, I suppose, making every game a must win from now on in, or else you're running that threat of a relegation battle.
I know Armagh have 2 defeats on the board now, Emma, after the weekend. And like, going back to what we mentioned there a few minutes ago, just about the relegation threat, I know Armagh are missing some of their, the heavy hitters, the big guns that we've seen represent them over the last couple of seasons, but they still have those big leaders in the squad. You look at the likes of Laura McConville or Clodagh McCambridge or Kelly Mallon, like, they still have those players. There is a lot of youth coming in there as well, but I don't know if there will be big panic stations now when the action resumes this weekend going into the final few games, or if they'll just try and play the style that we know they can play, and just try and get a much needed result on the board and try and build from that.
Yeah, like the team that Greg's putting out is clearly the strongest team that he has available. Yep, the Mackins, anybody would miss them. Carling O'Hanlon came on and featured in the game. But again, if Aoife McCoy's still there and like Kelly Mallon got a 2-pointer and then the 6 frees to keep them ticking along, but you're still looking at all those experienced girls to push on and steady the ship. Like Alana Dongley ran through the middle of the Cork defence and got that cracker goal. Cork weren't happy with that, and then they closed up shop. But Cork again were through in another couple of goal chances that took a point just to make sure they got the win, like when they could have maybe made it look a bit worse. But I'd say Greg's just going to be looking at the game and going, right, and just pushing it down the girls' throats, as in, this is what we used to do, this is what we need to do. And when it works well and we do what we have to do, then we get the results, but we can't keep going back. So it's just going to be repetition at training. And as I say, Greg won't be happy, but the girls won't be happy. Like, they're a really high standard bunch of girls, like Caroline, Clodagh, Lauren, all them girls, Kelly. They'll be getting in themselves and going, that wasn't good enough. Greg doesn't have to tell them it wasn't good enough. They will know that, and they will be the standard bearers themselves, and they'll probably be trying to drag them young girls along and say, right, we need to look after possession. We can't get turned over as much. So I'd say this week they're going to be doing a lot of small-sided games with overloads. So it'll be high pressure intensity. Can we look after the ball? Can we move it quick enough? But can we make the right decisions? And that's what's going to get Armagh the next couple of games. They need points, but they still have to play Kerry, Galway. I can't even think who is the other one they still have to play, but they still have to play some of the big hitters that you're going. They can't have them mistakes popping up, because Chief Roche and them girls will punish them. So under immense pressure, but again, if they can start ticking the boxes, they should be able to get a result.
Yeah, they've Galway this weekend, then Dublin, Kerry and Meath to see out the league campaign. So not a single easy game there. And of course, we will preview the return to action this weekend for a lot of Division 1. But looking at the way that Cork approached the game very, very well. And shout out to Anya O'Sullivan, who travelled all the way from the Beara Peninsula all the way to Armagh. I think it was about a 6-hour drive up and a 6-hour drive down. I think it's nearly a 2-hour drive from there to Cork City, never mind all the way to Armagh. She got 2 points for them that day. But like, Cork really rectified going in behind at halftime very quickly. I think it was 10 minutes on the clock in the second half. They levelled it. And then by the 48th minute, it's 1-6 to 1-4. And suddenly they're seeing the game out, and they're making the long journey back to Leaside with those coveted 3 points. From the mentality perspective, Joanne, was it a case of, while Armagh had really good moments throughout the game, it was that final quarter that just let them down, and it was the reason that Cork, ultimately came away with the result?
Yeah, like you mentioned, it was a very tight game, like until I suppose that last Rachel Leahy goal. And I think that's just kind of that sucker punch when, your back's against the wall, and Armagh probably felt that, and Cork probably just took a massive, boost of confidence from that goal. And they probably knew, and like as any experienced team does, this is our chance to push on and kind of maintain that lead to see out that game. Like, again, there is something lovely about coming down the road after an away game that people probably didn't expect us to win. Everything was against it to come back with the 2 points. So I think Cork will just be more than delighted. And again, there's no reason probably to be doubting themselves, or for I suppose people just maybe assumed Armagh would have been a wee bit stronger, and especially at home. But yeah, Cork have really proved that they're not messing around this year. And I know, like we've mentioned, Armagh are missing players and things like that, but again, you don't want to have to rely, and we're not saying that Armagh is going anywhere for a championship. I'm sure they're aiming to get a lot of them girls back for that time. But yeah, you just don't want to throw away the league either. So yeah, no, but Cork should be very buzzing after that weekend.
Absolutely, and definitely they will be when we look at the league table after it, and they're now sitting second spot on 7 points. Of course, the table hasn't changed much since the last week in terms of the remaining teams. The likes of Waterford still on top at 9 points. Galway have jumped down to third place with 6 points. Kerry in fourth on 6 points. Meath in fifth on 3. Armagh on 3 points in sixth, and then Kildare in seventh, and Dublin on 8 points, going in now to this weekend's round of action. We'll look now to Division 4. While there was no, I suppose the Cork game was streamed between themselves and Armagh, no Division 4 game live streamed over the weekend. We plenty of crackers in terms of competitive games between sides. Looking at one game, Carlow's 2-8 to 12-point win against Offaly, and they're doing very well now in Division 4. It's points difference separating them from Leitrim. We'll talk about their big result in a few minutes' time. But from the Carlow perspective, Emma, like we had Adele on last week, and she was kind of going about the way that Carlow were looking to, I suppose, target Division 4 now this year on their return, and how much it meant to them when they won Division 4 all those years ago. They've really not put a foot wrong. But credit to Offaly that they really push them right until the very end.
Yeah, no, like Carlow and Offaly, anytime you play, you know that you're in for a battle, and the two teams wouldn't lie down either. Like they'll go at each other, and it seemed to be a really good game and an open game. But Carlow, they have a lot of scores, so there's 3, 4, 5 people that stand up. Sarah Doyle, I think, is just one of the class players. She's very fast. And then you've obviously have Clayton O'Shea is back in form, like 1-4. I know 3 were from frees, but at the same time, it's pressure frees. Ruth Birmingham rarely would get in the score sport, so we might as well give her a shout out when she did. But Adele says they were targeting the game. They're trying to push on. They want to stay up there with Leitrim, because obviously if you slip down to fourth position, they don't want to be getting Leitrim then in the semi-final. So the two of them will be trying to avoid each other as much as possible in semi-final stages. But Offaly are rugged and tough and will keep going, and they'll be fighting to get back up to Division 3 as well. Like the year we played them, did a couple of really strong, handy girls there that you knew would cause damage. And again, like they've a load of a spread of players there too that have been making a name for themselves, like Emma Hand. And I know it was only one from a free and one from play, but she's another one that she'll just take you on, and it's frightening the way that her decision making and movement in the ball. Like so, Carlow will be happy there to be keeping in touch with Leitrim.
Yeah, and like Carlow really had to be patient. Like I know they had a really tough battle with Wicklow the week before. Like Wicklow weren't really going away from them, and were giving them a real tough account of it. And this time, like they did get that goal really early. Ava Kiernan shot to the back of the net, but they were playing kind of almost second fiddle to Offaly in that opening half. Clean Shea got a couple of scores as well, and they were 1-2 to 9 points behind at the break. But like when you have those scores, and Emma mentioned a few of them there, Joanne, like Sarah Doyle gets a point, and Abby Kiernan gets a goal and 1, and you have the likes of Clean and Shea that gets a goal and 4 points. Like you just have those, those big forwards, and even like you look at the likes of Roisin Bailey alongside Adele in the centre of the field. Like if you can win ball through those players and get them into your sharpshooters, like it's just just ran through the motions in the second half to get that result.
Yeah, I think like obviously the goal opportunities presented themselves to Carlow, and they were certainly taking them. And I think that probably shows, like I know I always harp on to the girls about being ruthless when you get them opportunities, because you see the difference. Like Offaly were probably thinking they were cruising, just chipping away at points, and probably did do enough and probably had a lot of the possession in the game. But because Carlow were able to punish the other side simply by getting 2 goals to keep them in it, was what the difference was. And I know teams say, goals win games, but it is, I suppose, in ladies football in particular, obviously the game can change like a flick of a switch, like and being able to be ruthless and take those goal opportunities. Look, at you can always rely on Cléanna Nishi to do that, like, and she really did stand up. And as Emma said, she seems to be really on form this year and was really kind of leading that Carlow team to try and get them straight back up out of Division 4 again. because we've spoken enough about what a hole it is to be in. But you do have to be tactical, like Emma mentions. Like, you do want to be avoiding the likes of Leitrim, that is obviously really, really pushing for that too. Like, the semi-finals is your final, like, so to where you finish in the top four, it can be the difference. Like, and not that any of the semi-finals is going to be easy, but you do want to give yourself the best opportunity even to get a home fixture or whatever it may be. So but yeah, they're definitely showing that they're taking it very seriously this year.
Because as you mentioned, like, you know exactly what Division 4 football is like, and how tough it is to get out of this division. But Carlo, to go 4 from 4, you're 6 points clear of the next team that are chasing you down. You want that home semi-final. You want to get into semi-finals and obviously get into a final and have your promotion, and then try and get some silverware as well. But like, getting these results, Joanne, every week, it's just important. And they've had some really tough games now under the belt that can really give them that little bit of confidence now that they can try and get back up to Division 3, and take what they've learned and bring it into a championship campaign, and try and get to where they want to be, knocking on the door for a junior All-Ireland as well.
100%. Like, and they have a good core group of girls that's been there for the last few years, so I do feel like they have that experience and probably know exactly what it takes to get out of that division. I know we were unfortunately off the other end of them beating us to get up to Division 3 a few years back, that they know it can be literally a point in the last 10 seconds. But I feel like they're a lot more like sure of themselves and know how they just seem to be playing a lot better this year as a unit. Like, and it's not like waiting on that last 10-second point to get the game won. Like, they are really putting a marker down, being ruthless when they are attacking. And I do think, look, anything can happen in that division, but I feel like Carlo were really, honing through that there's a reason they stayed up in Division 3 for a year or two, to really bring that experience. And like you said, to bring that into Championship. I do think that these matches come thick and fast, and you do have to use them. You're not going to get trading or challenges like that, this can be the stepping stone to really hone in on game plays, really hone in on what you're trying to work on before Championship starts. So it's not just, I suppose, just wasting that time in league to trial out new players. It can be a really, really good, I suppose, training field to learn all those game plays as well. And they really seem to be doing that.
And you look at Carlo, have been impressive. Leitrim have been equally impressive, but moved to top spot after fairly comprehensive results against Kilkenny. 8 goals and 20 points for any team to tally in a game, like, it's just phenomenal. And 40-point winners, like, that can give them so much confidence now. I suppose putting that little bit of a points difference now in place of score difference, should I say, between themselves and Carlo, just to say, like, we're the top team in the division and we want to be building on the confidence. As we've said, like, Leitrim have been sitting in this spot for the last couple of years. How many semi-finals in a row now have they lost trying to get promotion, or it's just slipped through the fingers? And like, to look at that score, Emma, like, they were composed from start to finish, plenty of scorers, and like I said, Michelle Guckian popping up, getting a 2-pointer as well. Like, they've just got so many different options that they are going to be tricky for whoever comes up against them.
Yeah, look, as we said before, Kilkenny seems to be the team that everybody targets to try and build that score difference up, but it's also the team that everybody tries to completely use their full squad to get everybody game time. So I know Leitrim gave a lot of young girls some game time that it was their debuts. I'm not going to start naming them in case I miss one or two out, and then the next thing, they feel bad for that one. But 820 some scoring. Michelle, obviously, we'd said from the very beginning with that she's the one that you would pick out straight away that could hit 2-pointers and from a free as well. So it's not like she was running on to it. So we expected Michelle to be doing that. So that's her first one that I know of. So we'll be expecting a few more throughout the year. But Leitrim and Carlo don't meet each other now until the last round of the league. So that could be a complete dead rubber game that they might just go, you know what it is, we'll just play our 2-second string squads, because again, it's the last chance of actually using unlimited subs. Once you go to semi-finals, finals, and then Championship, you've only your 5. So if there's somebody that haven't seen it, they want to give a chance, that could be it. Or it could be that maybe it does come down to decision that they don't like whoever is sitting in third or fourth position, and they're going, you know what, we need to try and get on top of it. So it depends on who they fancy themselves against. Obviously, both teams are full of confidence and they want to just push on and get out there. But as we said, the semi-final is no given that's your final. But Kilkenny, Sarah Smith and Maria Ryan obviously got their scores on the board for them. But they're building, and you can see like it's just a hard place for them, especially Camogie is still kind of the driven point there, but there is a lot of football clubs now in Kilkenny that you're hoping that the underage is starting to come through now and get stronger. So hopefully in a couple of years, the underage will be able to filter in to the senior team, that they'll be able to do something then in Division 4. Because you know yourself, if you're sitting and you don't really have any kind of young ones coming through to filter through, you kind of just feel like you're stuck in the one place with nothing there. Like, but hopefully they'll get their underage pushing through now in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and like Sarah Smith got their goal and Maria Ryan got their point, so they got on the board in the game. And look, Kilkenny they're still building, and they're still doing an awful lot down there to grow the sport and try and, you know, get a result and get up the league tables and try and push on down there. But from the Leitrim perspective, they might be in a small bit of transition as well this year. I suppose they've lost a couple of players over the last few years, and while they were senior last year, they still couldn't get out of Division 4, and you know, they were intermediate for a good few years, but still the league was just something that almost felt like a bit of a monkey on the back for them, Joanne. But like, they've looked very, very composed this year, and I think if it's with the way they've started the league campaign, it's like, if we don't get promoted this year, I don't think they're going to get promoted any year.
Yeah, I think they were, I know we mentioned last year maybe that they were off the back of celebrating a wee bit too long. That I think they've learned a lesson. They were out pretty early this year, I know, and that, you know, they really are taking it very seriously. Like, again, I just can't emphasize enough how tough sometimes, like, again, I remember the year that we didn't lose a game until the semi-final against Carlow, and we lost it at the last 10 seconds by a point. You know, you can be the best team the whole league, and you could just lose that semi-final. It's a gutting kind of, to be honest, I don't really know why that Division 4 is a different structure to the rest of the divisions, like why the top two teams don't go up. I don't really understand it. I do think it's a bit unfair, to be honest, especially when
voted on it.
Did it? Like, I remember we were definitely against that. Like, it mental. Like,
yeah,
I just think it's so strange, like, especially when they have an extra league game as is. You know, why drag it out anyway? That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, I do think Leitrim are definitely a force to be reckoned with. They've some very, very good, even young players come through. I know we talk about Moran Devaney. Like, she's young, but like, she's been about for how long? But she's honestly a fantastic player. Like, I do think there's some fantastic players to look out for, and when they get going, they're very, very good to watch. So I'm very excited to how they fare, even in championship. Hopefully we don't meet them till down the line, but it will be exciting to see where this year brings them.
You'll be waiting on the fixture list coming out to book a holiday.
See what flights I can get to the
wedding.
Straight. She missed you last week, just putting in the jibes every so often. So
I'm telling you.
They all got a couple. It's all right.
I was waiting for the first one to come in this week, but like from Leitrim's perspective, then, like, I suppose you don't want to be complacent any bit through the league, when even if, as you said, like, you win all your games, they could go up into a semi-final, and God knows who they play, and anything could happen. You saw the way the Offaly game went. Offaly could come back into this one. They could be strong. You could have a Sligo, a Longford. We'll have to see the way the results score. Derry, Wicklow can stake a claim as well. You just really don't know what way those teams are going to be shaped now when you get to a league semi-final. So I'm sure, Emma, they'll just be kind of setting their standards now for the remaining couple of games, and just trying to build and to say, right, we're here now, and we're not going to make any little silly mistakes to try and not allow us to get promoted this year.
Yeah, I'd say it'll all be, again, as I say, repetition, sticking to the game plan. I know at times when games maybe seem easy, you've the fullback deciding they're going to go up and try and get a score, or the cornerback deciding they're going to do that and whatever. So you're kind of going, look, stick to the tactics and till your rules, and everybody, this is key time for everybody to learn the rule and to learn especially the new rules, who's going to go forward, who's the key communicators, maybe have a few extra communicators so you're rotating people in and out, because you never know who could be unavailable some week or get injured some week, that they're maybe the key person that does all the talking, and then all of a sudden they're missing. So it's about getting everybody on the same kind of wagon, that they know everybody's role inside out. So say now all of a sudden I've been chucked into half back when normally I'm a half forward. I know what my role is, or corner forward, whatever it may be. You just need to be constantly learning and getting experience and watching and knowing your strengths and your weaknesses and everybody else's as well. So to Leitrim and even Carlow now, because like they are safe, like they're in the top 4, it just depends on where they're going to finish at. It's just about getting all those ducks in line, that whenever it does get a bit more hard for them and more pressure for them, they know exactly what they're going to do. And a bit like what Greg said about Armagh, that don't go back till the old style of, I'm under pressure, I'm just going to chuck it out. I'm under pressure, I'm going to give it to such and such. I'm under pressure, I'm going to do it to. So it's just getting everybody into that kind of mold of, right, game plan A, B, and C, and this is the crack. Everybody knows the rules.
Yeah, and like you look at teams getting big results, obviously, you know, from the Leitrim and Carlow perspective, we've gotten our 4th win in a row. It's great, but you look at the likes of Sligo picking up a 2-8, 3-2 win against Longford. You know, they're back very much in that hunt now for a semi-final place. Did finish the game with 13 players. Did very well to try and hold out against a very stern Longford side, and just had, you know, a couple of players to you know, like Sinead Regan and Rachel McGoldrick both got their goals, and you know, Lauren normally got 5 points. Like they had those players that could get them over the line when they needed the types of the scores. But from that perspective, Joanne, like to finish the game with 13 players, I think it was just, you have to do whatever you can do to try and get over the line. And as we said, like with this division being so competitive, every single 3 point that you can get on the board is crucial.
It's massive. Like, and I know Emma mentioned this in previous podcasts, but especially with the new rules, when you have to keep 3 players up, to be 2 players down is mad. Like that they were able, I suppose, to survive that game, especially when Longford were definitely coming on thick and fast. Like, so it's a credit to Sligo for seeing that game. And I know we played them in the challenge game this year, and they are very physical. So I'm not going to say that I'm not surprised it was a few yellows, but it is very hit and miss with referees. We've mentioned that before. Sorry, Emma, I know you're one of them. But to try and figure out, you know, what they're going to allow and what they're not going to allow. But yeah, honestly, I feel like it's a very good. It seems to be like, did I read there that he didn't allow a free to go ahead because they stepped over the 13-meter? Like he seemed to be very, very strict and. Yeah, so I could imagine that it was a tough enough game as a player. But yeah, as mentioned, Sligo again, good to see Sinead Regan, like unbelievable player. Like again, someone that you're always going to look to see a game out like that. And just even having her presence on the field is a massive addition to them as well. But yeah, credit to Sligo.
I know Aoife Darcy got a goal from a penalty fairly late in stoppage time for Longford, but just not enough to change the narrative in the game. But as Joanne mentioned, Emma, like they did, Longford maybe were a little bit furious when that whistle did sound at the end, that they didn't get a couple of decisions going their way. Now, I haven't seen the footage of that, you know, the score. It was Aoife Darcy that had the free. She converted it and was, you know, penalized for apparently stepping beyond the 13-meter mark. I don't know if it was right or not, but from the Longford perspective, do you think they'll be just disappointed outside of maybe some officiating not going their way, that, you know, they didn't get a result in this game?
Well, to be fair, they were double punished, because Darcy was the one then they get sin bin, because she obviously lost the bat after the point didn't get counted. But again, referee probably said don't step over the 13-meter line. Maybe it was something that had been happening a couple of times, and he was just get fed up with it, or I don't know. it'd be different if she took 5 steps in. That now it's a 10-meter line, but we don't know. Again, there was no footage of it that we've seen. So, but yeah, losing Aoife Darcy then for 10 minutes would have been a big killer for them too. I think they were probably lucky enough that Sligo, I think, had a yellow too, that it was 14 against 13. So at least it gave them a wee bit more of a push. But their discipline then from Sligo must have been brilliant then, whenever they were trying to cover all the spaces and the gaps to keep Longford out. But again, there's nothing more frustrating coming off the pitch and you think 2 or 3 decisions should have went your way and it didn't. And just at times you come off just with the weight in your shoulders then, and you just want to blame the ref and everything around it, instead of going, well, we maybe conceded 3 turnovers there and we kicked the ball away 4 times here. So it all kind of weighs itself out. But at times you do kind of just take your frustrations out on the officials. And then you'll go back and go, well, actually, we could have won that ourselves without the officials making the mistakes or whatever it was too. But fair play to Sligo. That game's going to stand to them now as well. It'll give them a lot of belief and resilience. Backs against the wall and stood up and still come out on top. So as we said, that's them up into 3rd now or 4th, them and Offaly. So that'll give them the confidence now to push on and hopefully get a semi-final spot.
Yeah, they're in 4th spot now. It's just score difference keeping them and Offaly separated at the moment. But like Sligo started brightly, they got their own goal. Then Longford had their goal and hit back, but just the scores just didn't, I suppose, follow up after they got the goal. Just the 1 point, and they went in at the break trailing 1-5 to 1-1, and like Sligo just went through the gears, got that second goal, and just kind of kicked on from there. And like Emma said there, Joanne, they can take an awful lot of confidence from that, but not to say that Longford won't get a couple of results now at the latter stages of the league and try and get a couple more points back on the board and be challenging for a semi-final place as well.
Yeah, like I think Longford, and again I always mention this, like they did get a management team very late into, I suppose, pre-season, and to be putting them results up against Sligo, I know that's no consolation to them now when they obviously didn't get the win, but they can take confidence from that they are still able to compete regardless of what challenges they've had. They've obviously a good group of girls there that have the talent and have the ability to push on in this division. But like you said, like anything, like a few results that could go their way, they could be pushing for that 4th spot. So again, the beauty of that division, like it could come down to score difference, literally the difference between the 5th and 4th spot. So I wouldn't be them thrown in the towel anyway yet. And they definitely have, like, again, a few different scores. Like I know we mentioned Aoife Darcy too, but Camille Bork and all, like there's definitely potential in that Longford team if they just regroup and stay together as well.
Yeah, and from there we move to Wicklow getting their first win of Division 4, the Lucy Dunn show in that game. 9 points out of their 10, like fantastic result from Wicklow and a fantastic performance by her. 10 points to 9 winners against Derry, a first win on the board. And after 3 disappointing results, Emma, they can hold their heads up high, but it was a very, very tough game against Derry. Like they didn't give them much in the way of chances or a bit of a lead to build on. It was right until the very end that Wicklow managed to just get that little bit of a cushion to see the game out.
Yeah, there's no better feeling if you win a game by a point, like, and you know that you've been in a battle. Like it was a draw at half time, 6 each. But Lucy Dunn, like I'd say they were probably having people double up on her and stuff, and she was still just pulling scores out of her bag, like. But to be fair, Derry are starting. You're starting to see Derry's trying to get a bit of momentum going now, and like they did have 3 different scores on the board. Annie McLaughlin got 6 points, 3 from frees, which is pretty good from her as well. Like, but Wicklow will take huge confidence from that game, and they still have a few of those big hitters to play now too. But Derry again, they'll probably be got it that they didn't get at least a draw from it, but at the same time, You don't want to be traveling home thinking that either, but they'll take confidence from it. They'll go back and watch and analyze it and see that what went right, what went wrong, and hopefully correct some of that coming into, like, I don't know if they're still got a chance to push out. It's tight enough. It depends on who they have, but why not just throw the kitchen sink at it now? Just let them go at it. Try and get their tactics right. And sure, if it doesn't pull, at least they're planning ahead for championship time.
Absolutely, and it was level at half time. There wasn't much separating the two sides, so I think both can take an awful lot for it. Lucy Dunn had 5 of their 6 points. Laura Butler had their other points. So, like, Wicklow they were definitely disappointed after the way the Carlow game had gone in the round previous, that they didn't get a result out of that one. So I think they can take an awful lot from it, Joanne, just to get a first win on the board and try and build a bit of confidence from that. But Derry certainly would be disappointed, having started well and gotten a result. Like, they just wanted to get something to try and go up there, and it just shows just how tough and competitive Division 4 is.
Yeah, look, I think we've mentioned it before, but winning games is probably the best way to build that momentum. You need to get the wins on the board to really, I suppose, take away that self-doubt and not fake confidence, but that we can do it. It actually does back it up, and especially a game as tight fought as that, it really does kind of harden gears and kind of show that that Wicklow will be taken away, that we can see a game out and we are able to win when it comes down to like a point difference. Obviously Derry, like we've mentioned, it's no consolation, but they can take confidence from that, especially when Wicklow were so close to Carlow and Carlow are doing so well. It's a very close, like, again, I just keep emphasizing anything can happen in that division, and you cannot take any team for granted. Like, and again, the next few rounds will probably obviously give us a better idea, but I would highly doubt even Leitrim and Leitrim up the top there, that I would not be taking any team for granted, because you just don't know what way the results are going to go. But yeah, very hard fought game for both teams, but a fantastic individual performance by Lucy Dunn too. Like, you have to give it to her.
I'd be
Absolutely.
concerned though with Lucy being the only one, because what happens if she's unavailable sometime or picks up an injury? Who's going to step up? So that would be my only thing, because some teams do have really good man markers. So if she turns up and somebody puts her in the back pocket, who's going to stand up and be counted for Wicklow? I'm not sure. Was it all freeze or was it all from play? Do you know what I mean? So that would be my concern from Wicklow, that brilliant from Lucy, yes, but they need other people to assist around her to get on the board. She can't just rely on the one person. Like,
but still a good result for Wicklow. As we just take a look at the league table, as we said, Leitrim and Carlow first and second place, 12 points on the board. Offaly in third on 6th. Sligo in 4th with 6 points as well. Longford 5th with 6 points. Only score difference separating those couple of teams at the moment. Derry in 6th place with 3 points. Wicklow in 7th with 3 points. And bottom of the table is Kilkenny with no points on the board so far. We'll have plenty of games now to look ahead to this week. I know Joanne has caught for time this week with other stuff that goes on in life. It's not just all about football, but you're back, of course, to football this week. You missed the last game, and we had said that because of you not being there, that's the reason that you lost to Louth. But definitely after that game, you will be looking for a much improved performance now in Division 3 this weekend.
Yeah, look, we were hugely disappointed. Obviously, I feel like a bit of a hypocrite talking about the game when I wasn't there, obviously. But look, the girls did do so well up until half time and just probably fell away from us a wee bit. But we're looking to regroup, and I suppose the break came at the right time. And just being able to regroup together and kind of get our focus back on what we're really trying to achieve here. Obviously, we haven't won a game yet. Yes, we've only lost one, but it is something that we really want to get those 3 points on the board. But obviously a very, very tough challenge with Antrim this weekend, and we're obviously travelling up too. So look, at it does all add into it, when you're thinking of percentages at this level. But yeah, we've no doubt we've a challenge ahead of us too.
And certainly someone they can ask there in the form of Emma just about how Antrim play and all their players and ever so often. But like Antrim have been very, very good. We've seen it ourselves, just how good they've been in Division 3 this year and the players that they have and so on and so forth. And like, I suppose after the 2 draws that he had to start the campaign, I think it was just, okay, we want to go into the Louth game and try and get a result. But Louth have been very hungry as well, and we'll preview their game as well later on. But like, it is going to be a very, very tough battle, but it is an all Ulster clash, and all Ulster games are normally, very tight and absorbing contests, and you'd be expecting a very tough battle in an away game against Antrim.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and again, it's probably nice to say we haven't met Antrim in a while, because we used to be sick playing each other every other week. But yeah, it look at the fantastic range of scores, like Emma mentioned, but they're definitely not they don't have Wicklow's problem and just relying on one girl to score. But again, look at, and I'm sure every team's saying the same, there's only so much you can focus on the other team. Like, obviously, yes, of course you have to man-mark their key players, but it probably was just about regrouping after the Louth game, and how do we actually just keep our head down and really bring ourselves back to our game plan and what we really need to get out of this league campaign. And look, it's like anything, 2 draws and a loss probably does leave us in a tricky position. We do need to get some wins on the board here to be safe in that Division 3. But yeah, again, like I've mentioned, we're just gonna try regroup and just hopefully go up and get a result this weekend.
I heard they're going to bring you to the furthest away club, like.
It's been done before, Emma.
Is it going to Waterford or Dunara or something?
Here, the way the pitches are going, what's this rain? God knows where the hell we're going to be playing. Jeez.
This could end up on a 3G yet, but at the same time, you should probably rather get a game over and done with rather than put them off.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like, each team, again, you can, as long as you get your key matchups right, and you're not going to have a tall girl on it, the smallest, speediest girl type thing and stuff like that. But it's all about looking at your own analysis of. My big one was always looking at your turnovers. How many did you concede and how many did you win? If you didn't win enough, clearly you weren't working hard enough. And how many frees did you give away? Was your discipline where you've been lazy? So, like, there's a lot, as you say, it's about working on your own team stuff before you try to look at the other team. Because if you can get your own thing right, then you're 99% on already. Like, you can only do so much. So if your tenacity's there, your work rate's there, your decision making, communication and movement, then that's going to work for you straight away without even having a look at the other teams. Like, key matchups is the only thing that I really would have looked at for most teams.
Well, that's Joanne Doonan dusted anyway for this week, giving her all her insight as she heads away to the world of work once again. And before myself and Emma preview all of the games this week, I managed to catch up with Cork captain Emma Cleary after their unbeaten run continued last week away to Armagh. Now, delighted to be joined by the Cork ladies captain in Emma Cleary. You had a very strong result last weekend, Emma, going all the way up to Armagh, and happy to get another win on the board and remain unbeaten as well.
Yeah, we did. We had a good weekend, I suppose, especially with the long trip up the road. Those northern trips are never easy, like, so to come away with the 3 points was great. We were delighted, I suppose, with how we played, particularly in the second half against a strong wind. So as I said, any of those away games, it's great to come home with points on the board anyway.
I know for one of you, the journey was a lot longer than maybe some other members of the squad, but it was a very strong and a statement performance as well to beat a team like Armagh in their own backyard as well. And those 2 goals came at a crucial moment. I think you rectified that deficit at halftime kind of very quickly in the second half, and then it was just those 2 goals that certainly gave you the momentum to push on and take home the points.
Yeah, I think so. As I said there, at halftime, probably things weren't looking too good when we were down 2 points. We conceded a goal in the first half, and we were coming out to play against a really strong win. But I think at that stage, the only thing that was going to get us over the line was hard work, you know, in those conditions. And I think we really did work hard in the second half, and got 2 really good goals from the 2 Rachels. So that kind of put us ahead there and gave us a bit of a cushion in the second half. Now they weren't going away by any means. They came back into it, and I think Kelly Mallon got a great 2-pointer there near the end. But we held out, thank God.
For a team that people tipped to be a relegation contender coming into the league, 2 wins and a draw from your opening 3 games certainly is a very different narrative than what some people wrote at the start of the league.
Yeah, look, I think that was the narrative out there. I suppose from our perspective, how we'd see it, like I suppose we were only down in Division 2 for 1 year. Ourselves, like we have been a consistent Division 1 team for as long as I've been on the panel anyway. And I know a lot of the older girls that are there as well have always played Division 1. So like I suppose we were only down there for 1 year. So and look, it's great to get the points and to have such a great start to the league. So to hopefully clear us from relegation in the next few games, but we're fully aware we also have big teams coming down the line in Waterford and Kerry and Dublin, so we won't look too far ahead yet.
I know, because I was just laughing because I just think you can't really write off a Cork team, to be honest. Over the last couple of years, you've always been consistently a strong team, and of course it has been transition as well. Nearly every county has had to deal with players have left the panel and so on and so forth, but there is a real strong blend of youth and experience within your group at the moment, and it has been for the last couple of years. And girls that came in, say around your time, coming in around that COVID time or just before it, or even in the last couple of years, say from 22 on, have really gotten the experience now to fight for the selection and have really rose to the occasion.
Yeah, I think so. And look, I suppose ourselves, we probably hear the word transition a lot, because I suppose we're coming after that great Cork team that won all those All-Irelands. But I suppose every year we go out, our goal is to win an All-Ireland as well. So I think that's probably not really on our minds. But as you said there's a huge share of girls on the panel with minor All-Ireland medals. Like, a lot of us have won All-Irelands at minor level, and I know that doesn't always transpire directly into senior level, but it is still a positive thing to have in the group, girls who are used to winning. And as you said, there's a lot of new girls on the panel and a lot of change to the panel. But I think this year, and I suppose last year as well, with similar management, we're doing the best we can to try to blend it all together.
You had a fantastic club championship campaign, and got the captaincy out of it for this year. What was that feeling like to be named the team captain for this year?
Yeah, look, it was a huge honour. I suppose firstly just to be representing my club Éire Óg. We finally got over the line this year. It was our 5th county final in a row, and finally got there after a replay this year. So as I said, just delighted to be representing my club and my family. And look, there's loads of leaders on the team, the likes of Melissa Duggan, Shauna Kelly, Maura O'Callaghan. So I've all them surrounding me. So yeah.
I know it's not your first time captaining Cork either. I believe you captained them maybe on a couple of appearances around maybe 2023, or if not maybe a year or two before it, or so on and so forth. But how have you find, I suppose, stepping into the leadership role? Because you've kind of been one of those leaders for the last couple of years. It's not just this year being named in that captain capacity.
Yeah, I suppose I was captain vice captain the last 3 years, I think. So probably have a bit of experience even being in kind of leadership groups and stuff. So I'm like that, and it's not too much of a change. As I said, when you're surrounded by so many leaders in the group anyway, there's not too much to it. As I said, just a really nice honor to have, I suppose.
Yeah, and from your perspective, obviously it's been a very tough Division 1 campaign this year for a lot of teams. Like, it's, any team could beat any team with the way that some of the results have gone to date, and we're only a couple of rounds in, going into round 4 now this weekend. So it's kind of every point is crucial from here on in, and you're obviously going up against Kerry first of all, and then it's looking at a couple of other teams then from here on in. But I suppose you can't really look too far into the distance, but I suppose it's trying to keep the same momentum and the same drive going now within the squad.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose, as you said there, there's kind of all sorts of results being thrown out, and it probably emphasizes how important it was that we did get a point out of that game the first day against Kildare. We were down by 3 points, I think, with 6 or 7 minutes to go, and to claw back a draw and to get a point out of that was really positive for where we are now on the league table, I suppose. But as you said, big games coming down the line. I think we've this kind of 3-week block with 3 games in a row with Armagh, Kerry and Waterford. So I think our focus for the time being is obviously just Kerry first on Sunday, but this block, and then we'll reset. Then I think the O'Connor Cup was on, then the college competition, and then we've Meath and Dublin to finish off. Then
you've had 2 hard earned and tough wins, 3 very tough games to kick off the league. Both of those wins have come by 2-point margins. Now you have the big game, the first derby of the year between Kerry and Cork. It's always the game that everyone looks forward to, and I'd say since the dawn of time, it's Kerry and Cork people have always been arguing with each other, and when you play each other on the field of play, it's always a tough game. And you look at it, I think 2022 was the last time that you beat Kerry down in their own patch, the Munster final that was in Fitzgerald Stadium. I know your dad masterminded the first Cork win in Killarney in over 30 years in the McGrath Cup final earlier on this year, and I'm sure you'll be looking to mastermind a win on Kerry soil this Sunday.
Yeah, look, I suppose it's always great to be going down there playing our close neighbours. I suppose we know them so well at this stage just from playing them Munster Championship. They were in our group for the All-Ireland Championship the last couple of years, and then league obviously as well, back playing them in the league. So we would have played all these girls the whole way up, under 16, minor, so we know each other really well. And look, they're obviously one of the top form teams in the country at the moment, and have shown that the last few years. So we'll be under no illusions how tough it's going to be. But look, you can't complain, going down to Tralee. I'm sure there'll be a good Kerry crowd there. There'll be a good atmosphere. So we're looking forward to it. Absolutely. Emma,
listen, thanks very much for coming on our Ladies Gaelic podcast this week, and best of luck for Sunday, and of course the best of luck for the remainder of the league campaign as well.
Thanks a million.
So action back this week, Emma, now for Division 1. Obviously we had the back game last week between Armagh and Cork, so we're back to, I suppose, the full round this week, round 4 action across the board. We're looking at the fixtures. Galway against Armagh gets us underway on Saturday at 4:15. Then Dublin and Kildare 2:00 on Sunday. Kerry host Cork at the same time in Tralee, and Waterford host Meath this weekend. 4 very, very tough fixtures from the Armagh perspective, and we spoke about it there earlier on. Like, when they're in a relegation threat, like, their run of games isn't exactly easy from here on in. So, like, to get a result against a team like Galway, who we kind of said last week we're doing very, very well for a team on the way up, like, it'll be crucial for them to get points on the board.
No game's going to be easy in Division 1, no matter what. Like, but Armagh's going to have to just knuckle down and try to play the best football that they've had, but and that means trying to keep possession, and when they do have possession, be efficient and get the scores on the board. Galway, as you know, they have a great scoring threat. They have players all over the pitch that are talented and can do damage. And again, we don't know if the Villy or the Wards are back. If they are, that's another extra headache. But as I said before, I think Armagh just need to focus on themselves, get the right matchups, yes, but focus on themselves. And Greg was saying about how they got turned over far too much and give away the ball far too much. So if they can minimise that as much as possible, and then be clinical in front of goal with the likes of Kelly Mallon, who has been clinical, then they'll be right in there and hopefully get the result against Galway, who have been motoring rightly, and we know that they've 3 or 4, was it 5 of their forwards scored, 3 of their forwards scored a high amount in the last game. So Clodagh McCambridge will probably have their pick of forwards to pick up and man mark this week.
Yeah, like Roisin Leonard is a forward in form, Andrea Trill as well, and Leanne Cohen. Like all of them, was it the last game was it 3? I can't even remember off the top of my head. It was like 3-7 or something. Their last scores were all coming from their inside forward line, and I know Claude has been so good at managing that ship. Like I still recall that stat when she went off injured in the game against Kerry. Yeah, in that semi-final up in Tullamore. I think it was the first time they had been missing her, and I don't know how many years or like how many games. It was absolutely crazy, the stat, and like the defense, Kerry
wobbled
really
big time.
capitalized it.
Yeah, there was a big gap. I think Kerry got a goal and all, and then Clodagh came back on, and you were kind of going, but again, she can't man mark 3 or 4. It's up to the rest now to step up as well and be counted. But that's who Greg decides to put her on is going to be key as well. But as I said, they've more than one fire to put out with Galway.
Yeah. Now we're looking at the bottom of the table clash between Dublin and Kildare. One of them might get a win finally in the table. Maybe it's a draw between the two of them. God only knows with the way the new rules have gone and the amount of draws that we've seen. Dublin, like, you look at what Greg had said about Armagh, like Dublin are still kind of maybe trying to find their feet, trying to bring in players that are, they've players that have been around the block the last couple of years, still young, trying to, stake their claim, and, they're trying to get a couple of more seasoned players back in, and they will fancy their chances against Kildare, but like Kildare have proven themselves so far that they're a very, very tough team to break down and to have plenty of their own danger threats as well. So like, this could be one that goes either way, Emma, between the two of them.
Yeah, I think we'd expect a ding-dong battle between these two. Whoever wins this, if somebody does win and it's not a draw, if it's Kildare and Armagh don't get the win against Galway, they top above Armagh. They'd go into third from bottom. But there's not many household names of the Dublin team, but you can see that they're starting to gain a wee bit of stability and a wee bit of confidence, and they're just not getting results. But again, if you were putting out near enough a brand new team in Division 1 against the Kerrys and the Mees and all that, you don't expect them to find their feet like straight away. It will take them a lot of time to get used to even the speed of the game, never mind the new rules adding in there, used to each other. Some of them would have played underage together, but you know yourself, it's a massive step up at the senior level. Like if you even threw some of them Division 3 and 4 teams into play, some of them Division 1 teams, it would be a massive step up. So Dublin, yes, they're transitioning, but they need to get a result, and they will be fancying themselves against Kildare because, again, they'll just be looking at it and going, well, why not? We've nothing to lose here. Why not? Just throw the kitchen sink at it, the same as Kildare. Kildare obviously have a few more experienced girls. They have the draw under the belt. They've been playing pretty well. They just haven't got the results. So they'll again be going, well, everybody else is beating Dublin. Why not us? So it could be a close enough encounter.
And then you have one of the most storied rivalries across the Gaelic games, or across anything to do with Irish heritage, between the old neighbours Kerry and Cork. Like even anything, there's always an argument between people from both counties about whatever when it comes out onto a football field. Like you're always going to get a good game between Kerry and Cork, and they're bringing them down to us in Stack Park on the Sunday. Cork love to get a home. I love to get a win against Kerry on their home patch, and continue this unbeaten run. But Kerry are they're building. They've added a few new players in, brought a few players back that have been in and around their squad for the last couple of years. So they look strong. Cork looks strong as well, and a bit like that kind of the Dublin and Kildare game. Very hard to tell based on their form coming into this who could leave with the 3 points.
Good old Derby game. You don't know what way it's going to go. Cork, rightly, we've said before, they do not give up. They're physical, they're strong, they're tough. You come to their backyard, no way is Kerry getting out of there without getting roughed up a wee bit as well. So it's an exciting one. I'm hoping I'm actually not working this weekend, so I'm hoping that this one's going to be on TV because it is going to be a cracker game. And again, the key matchups is going to be vital. Who's going to be picking up the Cork full forward line, because they have been on fire. And as I said, it's a bit like Galway. If you pick up one, the other one's stepping up. They've had a great range of scores there, whereas you're going to go, well, who's going to pick up Shifra? Because to me, she plays all over the pitch. So you need somebody that's going to just follow her, and it'll probably be Emma Cleary. It'll probably be the one that will be sent out to chase her about, and she's not going to lie down either. But that's going to be probably the most exciting game, simply because it's the derby match. And any other year you're going, oh, well, Kerry will win that one easy. Whereas this year you're going, no, Cork have that bit between their teeth, and they're going to go out and they're going to want blood from Kerry if they're coming onto their back doorstep. And I think it's going to be a class game. Like,
because look, I know Kerry, I think it was a Caught Lynch, had gone off injured in that Meath game. So it's whether she's right now to come into this, because it's like, okay, who's going to mark a Katie Quirk? Would you put like an Eilish Lynch on her or a Caught Lynch? They're two very good markers in that respect. And it's likewise then, who goes on Shifra? Like Melissa Duggan is back there, Rosie Corkery's back there. Do you want them go on her? But then like Kerry have the threat of Daniel O'Leary. You could have Jaden Lucy there. Niamh Conakura is very good on the 40, or Rachel Dwyer as well. And then we have Liam McMahon, who's like the new gun, fresh on the scene, came on as a sub in Fitzgerald Stadium against Waterford, started her first game against Meath, got 2 goals, and is kind of that, maybe they don't know much about her, like who's going to go on her. And same, Anya O'Sullivan will have a shorter drive this week from the Beara Peninsula all the way to Tralee rather than going all the way to Armagh, but she's going to be picked up as well. Like, both teams have plenty of threats. It's like, okay, while we can neutralize maybe one or two, there are other players in the firing line that can get them over the line. Vast experienced players on both these two teams.
Yeah, but this is the point now. If you just go, do you know what it is? Go you and pick her up, because with me, I'd be going, right, well, maybe I don't want to lose one of my stronger runners because they're now picking somebody else up, and we don't want them being their main focus. So I think it's kind of getting the right balance. You don't want somebody so worried that they're marking somebody that it takes away from their own game. Whereas when my team has the ball, you just go and make them chase you. And it's putting everybody in the back foot what's going to go on. But it's communication then, because if they don't follow, somebody has to be smart enough to pick up. So that's going to be key, the communication in the game. But the tactics and the matchups are going to be interesting to see.
And we spoke about Division 4 and those two teams, the likes of the Carlows and the Leitrim's, building and getting 4 wins in a row, and they could get complacent. Like, you look at Waterford, like if Waterford can get a 4th win in a row now this weekend, puts them in a very, very strong position to try and make that final come the end of a league campaign. But Meath are going to make that trip down to the Daisha this weekend, and Meath are a very, very strong team. We've seen it throughout the campaign. They've hit some bumps in the road here and there, but like when you have the likes of Emma Duggan and a couple of other players that have gotten those scores and provided the threat and they're young, but they're also vastly experienced because they've been on this amazing journey over the last few years. Like, Waterford are really going to have yet another tough battle to try and stake their claim for a league title this year.
Yeah, Waterford won't be taking anything for granted. Yeah, they know that they're winning, they know they're top of the league, but they know there's not much in maybe dropping down a few spots as well. So they'll be turning up and they'll just be trying to stick to the exact same game plan that they've been doing over the past couple of games. And they'll be getting their strategies right, their marking right, their movements right. Yeah, they'll get the proper matchups. They have some incredible speedy girls, but to me, Waterford's main thing is their work rate. They work for each other, they're hairy for each other, and whenever they break, they break in numbers and they go and they go. So it's a bit like the way that Meath would play themselves. So to me, it's going to be a very open game, and it's just going to be back and forward, but it's going to be the team that is able to punish the other team on the scoreboard that's going to be key here, because I can just see it being a fast and frantic game that could go either way. But Waterford, yes, have the confidence in their tails up, but Meath won't be frightened of them. They'll be going down and just saying, look here, yeah, you've won a couple of games, but you haven't played us yet. And it's going to be a brilliant game too. There's some really good matchups this week. It's kind of just going. Everybody just has to throw the sink at it, and some of them just have to stick the plug in and try to hold on for dear life. But it's going to be good, like.
And like that's just not just in Division 2, it's our Division 1, should I say. It's across the board. We'll go on to Division 2, like, and you look at the Division 2 fixtures, like Donegal against Cavan, a very, very tasty fixture there. Tipperary at home to Monaghan at 2 o'clock on Sunday, the same as Donegal hosting Cavan. Tyrone against Mayo at 2 o'clock on Sunday, and then Wexford against Westmeath. Like, you look at the way that the table is positioned at the moment, like Donegal flying high at the top of the table on 9 points, welcoming a third place Cavan team who've, been unbeaten since coming up from Division 3 on 7 points. And all Ulster tie, it's going to be an awful lot on this game. And Cavan, if they can get a result against Donegal, like this is, a storied start to Division 2 for them.
Yeah, like all those Division 2 fixtures, it's near enough the exact same as Division 1. You have the bottom two playing other, and then you have the first and the third and the same matchup type thing. But like Cavan have nothing to fear. They're the team that probably everybody's expected to be the underdogs, whereas Donegal, they were transitioning last year with James. Now it's a wee bit more steady this year. They've got their game plan in place and they're going at it. And yes, they're unbeaten so far. Like, everybody probably didn't expect them to beat Tyrone in their own backyard after Tyrone going out in a goal scoring mission over the past couple of games, and they held them. So I'd say it's another interesting game. The big thing, I think, will be the discipline, because a lot of the scores both against Donegal and Cavan have game from frees. So whatever team can keep their free count down is probably going to come out on top. And that's not trying to be low on kind of performance of them. It just seems to be I think in the last game, Tyrone maybe had 5 or 6 scored frees. The game before that, I can't remember who it was, had maybe 5 or 6 against Donegal. That you're just going, you need to get the discipline right. Don't jump in, try not to do it. And that could be the same with Cavan. Try not to give away the frees. And obviously you're going to have Aisling Sheridan on the edge of the square trying to calm the ring down and punish any of the frees that Donegal possibly will give away. But another tight encounter that could go either way.
Yeah, I think it was that Monaghan game that Monaghan just got so much their scores from frees. And as you said there, like the two Sheridans, Aisling and Ella have been both very, very good, and Cavan have those sharpshooters. But then you look at Tyrone, and you mentioned like they were certainly disappointed to have lost that game to Donegal. Obviously, they have a home game now against Mayo, who jumped them in the league table after getting that result, the same as Cavan in the last round. Both of them now on 7 points, and Tyrone, who were flying it there for a while, are now suddenly out of those those places at the top end of the table, and they're going up against a Mayo team who, had to really grind through the gears to get through a very stubborn Tipperary defence in their last game, and had to hang on as well through some fantastic goalkeeping in the final exchanges. It could have been a loss for them against Tipperary, but look, Tyrone know the way they can play and the strengths that they bring, especially with a home game. But I don't think Mayo will be going up, fearing, an annihilation with the goal threat that Tyrone could bring. And Diana O'Hora has certainly got them prepared now in that little bit of a break that we've had to get them right for this weekend.
No, and it just shows how quickly the table can turn at the top. Whether it's a draw or a loss, and somebody else can jump you very easily. You could end up in the bottom very easily if you aren't careful as well. But Mayo went from one extreme to the other. So in the one extreme, was it 6 or 7 goals they scored against Wexford? No. And then the week after, they couldn't get a goal against Tipperary because they must have just watched that game and went, do you know what it is? We're going to stop them scoring goals, and we'll put up a blockade and we'll see how they go. But that creates a lot of patience and ball control and ball management, game management, which Diana O'Hora probably is working on in training, because you're always going to have those types of games. It could be like an open sea one day, and then the next thing it's just blockade. So she'll be going to Tyrone thinking, it'll be a bit like Tipperary. It'll be a blockade. We need to be patient, and we need to take our chances when it's on. We need to get the right person on the ball to take those chances. When the goal opens up, take them, but at the same time, they will be very wary of Tyrone's goal scoring abilities as well. The likes of Niamh O'Neill has been very good at getting other people involved in the play, and she's probably one of the people that they'll be earmarking to try and keep her away from the ball as much. To me, she'd be their playmaker more now. Aoife Horsk has been brilliant for them. So again, Diane will be having, like, they've had a week off now. All the analysis is going to be done, but as we said, they're going to be analysing the key players for the matchups and what they like to do, but they're not going to change their own game plan as much either. And I think everybody forgets, yes, Diane played for Mayo for years, but this is only her fourth game now, third game. So she's still learning the players and their strengths and weaknesses, and they're still learning about her and what she expects and what she wants. So she's still trying to set the standards and the tone, and it's going rightly. Whereas Tyrone, this is the second year that Darren's in. They obviously got up to senior and they were motoring rightly, and then the speed bump of Donegal and James has hit in. So it's, how are they going to react to that loss? Are they going to come out and still be deflated and take a while to get into it, or are they going to come out and say that was a wee mistake and we're back on the road here?
Yeah, and I know I kind of got confused there. Actually, yeah, Mayo did score 5 goals against Wexford the same day that Westmeath scored 6 against Tyrone, but Tyrone scored 4 in that game. So, like, we could have, 8 or 9 goals scored in this game. Like, this could be the absolute game of the weekend kind of stuff from this one. But then you look at, so you have first against third, second against fourth at the top end of the table. Then you look at it and you have fifth against sixth in the form of Tipperary against Monaghan, both with a win on the board so far. And I suppose 2 teams that had targeted to go up further in the table. So if either of them can get a result, I know we said last week that, Tipperary defended very well against Mayo, but maybe waited a little bit too long to get those scores. They had a really good purple patch in that final quarter against Mayo, and Monaghan got the result when they needed to, and they are a very, very strong team as well. So again, could be a toss of a coin between who picks up a result here.
Yeah, it could be a low score in a game with maybe a point or 2 points in it at the end, or if one team can nab a goal, that could be the all-important one. Now, Leanne Maguire and Eva Sherry and that are starting to hit form for Monaghan. So they'll be hoping to push on. Tipperary, as we know, are very good defensively, and they just took too long to take the shackles off and to go for that win. So they'll have learned from that. They'll know now, look, do you know what it is? We can go, we can get our scores, we can be offensive. It's just about getting your shape quickly again if there is a turnover, or being smart in the turnover process. But that is a massive game. Both teams will be disappointed that they're away down in those positions. So, but as I said, a win there can jump them up to what, third spot, fourth spot, depending on all the results. So it's all to play for. Like, both them teams are going to go, you know what it is? Let's just go for it. It's going to be a dog bite dog one, and they'll go like nose to nose, and it'll be a tight affair at the end here.
Yeah, and I know Monaghan, will be coming in off the back of that result against Westmeath in the last round, and they'll have the confidence. But from the last game of the weekend between Westmeath and Wexford, like, both of them have come close and yet so far to getting results in the league this year. And it's, this game, we said kind of with the Dublin and Kildare game in Division 1, it's like, will one of them finally get over the line, or will it be a draw? Like, both of these two teams are well accustomed to playing each other when it's come to, Leinster Championship and so on and so forth. Like, they're probably sick of each other at this point, meeting in other competitions. But like, this is a massive game for both teams now to, I suppose, instill a bit of confidence. And while some teams at the top of the table are trying to get promoted and trying to get silverware and so on and so forth, like, it's all about, trying to stay in Division 2 for these two teams.
Yeah. Obviously Westmeath scored a lot in the last couple of games and never got across the line. So their issue would have been trying to stop the other teams. So they'll be focusing, they'll not be worried about their forwards. They know that their forwards can score freely and cause damage. It's their defence that they need to get somebody in there that is going to communicate and organise and have some sort of defensive setup, and then the pounce, because they have the scoring threat. They've scored 12 goals so far in the league. Wexford, they've kind of come under a lot of fire, as in they've conceded a lot of goals. But they do look a threat when they go forward themselves. So I think this is going to be the battle of the defences and who can actually get control of their own defence. Because if they don't, the other team is going to punish them, and it could be a really high-scoring game. Because if the gates are just wide open and everybody's worried about scoring and nobody's worried about stopping them, it's going to be like an under-12 game that you're going, holy God, what's going on here? So, as I said, the 2 weeks, the week break, I'd be expecting the teams there to be working on their defensive shape, and we'll see who's been actually paying attention, because old habits can creep in when the pressure is biting at you during a game.
Absolutely. And like, we'll move on to Division 3, where again there's plenty of really competitive ties up and down the country this weekend. Clare host Laois at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Down at the same time host Roscommon. We've Antrim against Fermanagh, as we mentioned, and then Louth taking on Limerick as well. We have looked at that Antrim and Fermanagh game when Joanne was here. Antrim has started very, very brightly, and with Fermanagh coming in off the back of that loss to Louth, maybe morale and form, you'd have to go with Antrim. They've gone through the fire so far. They've got those results, and they look in red hot form so far, but don't want to be too complacent either.
Yeah, I think Antrim probably got an eye-opener against Roscommon, because we said they'd got Clare and Limerick when they were kind of going through like a wee changeover stage. So Roscommon was their first proper challenge of a more settled team. But they'll not be complacent going in against Fermanagh, because they know the likes of Emer Smith on our day can damage any team. They are settled on a lot of their squad now, so I think it's just about more clicking. So they conceded 12 turnover or 12 wides in the last game, so they need to be sharpening down on a lot of the things, because Fermanagh, Louth and Down are the teams that they've left, and Laois, are the teams they've left to play, and those are the teams that are more physical, are more settled, and will punish all those wee mistakes that maybe the likes of Limerick and Clare didn't punish. So they would need to be knuckling down on correcting those. Fermanagh, as Joanne says, would be gutted at how they lost against Louth. They'll be obviously analysing that and looking back and what they can do to change it. They were obviously missing a couple of people, and Joanne probably would have added a couple of points or on the board there too. So there's no point in holding it all back on you and dragging you down. It's about looking at the mistakes, how can we fix them, and then you move forward. Just don't make the same mistakes again. But again, Fermanagh and Antrim over the years is always a tight, tetchy affair. Eddie Cuthbert's refereeing it this week, so the down man. So again, it could go down to the wire. It could be that it's a goal fest. You just don't know with Fermanagh and Antrim. And as Joanne said, we used to play each other that often in a year. I would have been slagging our girls that they would know what colour of knickers the player the marking is wearing. So it's going to be interesting. They haven't played each other in a while now, so it'll be good to see where they're at to each other, to what they were.
I know you've spoken there about Louth as well. Like, Louth have been in, really, really good form, coming in off the back of an All-Ireland win. Your league campaign could be, it's a building block for something new, and there is maybe a bit of transition there, as well as a couple of new faces and a couple of seasoned players that have departed as well. And like, Louth have been very, very good for the last couple of seasons. Like the year that they played Fermanagh in that All-Ireland final, I know Fermanagh had the big Emer Smith factor going into that game, but Jesus, like, I nearly would have tipped Louth have gotten over the line that day. I thought they were very, very good, and for patches of the game, you didn't really know what way it was going to go, and they've really started this league campaign as they meant to go on, and now they're hosting a Limerick team very much in transition this year, and like, they look very, very strong to just try and keep this scoring form up and try and secure one of those top two places to ensure promotion and maybe a bit of silverware to start off 2026.
Yeah, they'll not want to be complacent, because to me it wouldn't matter if you were going out to play a team that were at the bottom and had no chance at all, and you knew you were going to beat them. They will not want to be complacent. They'll go out with their strongest team and will just be saying to the girls, have this game put to bed by half time, and then they can start rolling their bench and giving all the girls a chance. Now, Limerick are starting to pick up a bit, so that they scored a bit more last week. Obviously, the new manager the week before. So maybe they're starting to build a wee bit more confidence and stuff, that Louth can't be complacent, but they need to stick to their game plan and go out and just, they're in great scoring form, as we said. Anya Breen won't let them be complacent anyway. She'll be slamming at them to do the things simple and right. But I think it's hard to look past Louth and getting a win against them, Limerick. Like,
yeah, and like you look at complacency, like it could be the same story for Down. Like you look at those top three teams in the division, Antrim, Louth and Down, like neither of them have lost games so far. Obviously they've had a draw each through some, very, very tough games. But like Down, you're going up against a team like Roscommon. You've seen what Roscommon did to Antrim last time out. Like Roscommon are a very, very strong team, are a team that definitely want to kick on in Division 3, if not just kick on and try and get some more silverware even when we get back into the All-Ireland campaign this year, to be one of those teams that people are talking about as a front runner to try and pick up some silverware come August time. And Down are a very, very strong team as well. They have home advantage. They have plenty of very strong scorers and ball winners in midfield, and a very strong defence as well. So like Roscommon will be going up really trying to get the result, but Down, they can't afford to drop points here with how well they've done at the start of this campaign.
I can see Down going out to set a marker for this game. Roscommon have drew with Fermanagh and they've drew with Antrim. Down still have to play those two teams, so they'll be going out to set a marker that they want to beat Roscommon in order to put the fear factor into Fermanagh and Antrim when they turn up to play Down. So this is Down's way of seeing, where are we? If we can beat them, we should be in with a shout with the other two teams. Roscommon will be disappointed because they themselves had chances in the Antrim game and just didn't punish them and take their ticket when they had them. But Down at the same time will be gutted about that Louth game, that they didn't take their chances and were lucky to get the draw. And then the last game, they pushed on, and was it Emer Fitzpatrick just had a complete scoring spree, and Eva Hicks as well. So it'll be interesting to see. Roscommon won't let them score as much. Roscommon's defence is very good. They're very organised, and they will be locking down an Emer. But I think they'll be very aware of giving away frees, because Emer can punish them from 2-point distance, never mind the closer in one. So that's going to be the key factor there. Can Roscommon be very disciplined in the tackle so they don't concede the points from Emer? And can they lock them down during play as well? It's a game that could go down to the wire, and it'll be interesting to see what way it comes out, because if Down can get the win over Roscommon, Fermanagh and Antrim will be slightly worried if they only got the draw against Roscommon.
And if you look at as well, like I know Clare this weekend have their third home game in a row. Like if they can get a result at home to Laois and Fermanagh don't get a result, like they'll leapfrog Fermanagh, send Fermanagh into the relegation zone, and Clare will have that little bit of a safety cushion. But look, they had a really tight game against Louth at home, their first home game in the league, and then the Down game, while they scored 4-13, they conceded 7-13. So they probably did a little bit of work-ons from that game, and now look to a Laois team, and like they're coming off the back, I suppose, of getting the monkey off the back, so to speak, of getting that result, and they got it against Limerick. They made the trip down, got that result. Now they're going over to Clare to try and get another result, and you probably favour Laois with that bit of form behind them and the way that they have performed, and their youngsters have really came on over the last couple of years and got them to an All-Ireland final last year. But Clare, a bit like Limerick, small bit of transition, hoping to get some more seasoned players back into their squad as well.
Yeah, Clare would have been very happy if how much they scored in the last game, as you said, but it was the conceding of it. So as we've been saying with a lot of the teams, the 2 weeks now has probably been looking more at their defensive structures. But Clare will be starting to build some confidence from the last couple of games, because they are going through the transition, and it does take a while to settle in to that mode. And all the Division 3 games are tough, physical and rugged. And if you're not used to that style, it's going to take you a while to transition into that. And normally when we talk about transition, we're talking about, it's some minor girls that played at minor coming into senior. It might not be that. It could just be somebody that has never played at that level before. Maybe they've been a squad player and just haven't had the chance to get game time. So it's trying to get that right mix. Whereas Laois were probably going, what the hell was going on, that they couldn't get the win until Limerick. They probably couldn't understand. Here we were Division 2 and was it intermediate, wasn't it? No. I can't even remember. Last year. Senior last year?
No, they were intermediate. They were senior. I think it was a couple of years ago.
Who did Tyrone beat?
Tyrone beat Laois last year in the All-Ireland final.
In the intermediate final. So they're probably going, we're playing teams that have been lower than us in the league, and some of them are junior teams in championship. How the hell can we get a win? So then when they go to Limerick, now they've got the bit of confidence that you're kind of going, right, that's it. Our tails are up a wee bit now. We won't be complacent, but this is our chance to go to Clare. They're younger girls. They don't know what's coming at it, and they don't know some of our young girls now either. And can we go and get a win under our belt? And as you said, points can change the table dramatically, and Fermanagh will be needing to win this weekend to try and take pressure off themselves. But it's going to be fierce in all the leagues at the minute, because it's only a couple of points between the bottom two and the third and the fourth position.
Yeah, and I know, look, we touched on Division 4 quite a bit earlier on, but you're looking at the fixtures from Division 4 this week, like Carlow host Derry at 2 o'clock on Sunday, Leitrim host Wicklow at the same time, Offaly host Longford at the same time, and Sligo take on Kilkenny as well. Like, from the Carlow perspective, a home game with Derry, like, they'll be aiming for no less than 5 from 5 from this game. And from the Derry perspective, like, they started brightly, but ever since then, it's just not gone their way. And they certainly need a result here, Emma, if they want to try and, get back up into semi-final contention.
Yeah, time's running out for Derry. The only confidence that Derry can take is how close Wicklow ran Carlow in their league game, and they only lost by the point last week to Wicklow. So that would be their only thing going, right, well, do you know what it is? We were close to Wicklow, they were close to Carlow. It's like a wee rotivator thing going on. Can we cause damage? And as I said, Derry have nothing to lose. Just go out, enjoy your football, and don't get stressed out. And whenever you're enjoying it and not stressed, it's whenever you play your best football. And things just the jigsaw just has to fall into place for them. And then they'll get their tails up and get going. But Carlow, they'll be good out, and they'll be looking to put the game to bed in the first half. That's just the demeanour that they've been playing with this year. They want to be out of touching distance. But to be fair, they do kind of need another close game in order to build their resilience and a wee bit more of grit, if that's the right word, because when it comes to the semi-final and then touch wood the final, when they get there, they're going to need the grit. And that only happens when you play those tough, close games. So hopefully Derry turns up and gives them a really good physical and tenacious game. But you can't look any further than Carlow at the minute.
No, and like Leitrim, from their perspective, like they, had damage again last weekend against Kilkenny, and look, Wicklow next up now with a home game on Sunday. Like, Wicklow have nothing to lose either. They finally got that result last weekend, so they'll be brimming with confidence. And you saw what they did, with the likes of Carlow and how tough it was for them in that game. Like, they'll be looking to put a marker performance now against Leitrim. Yeah,
they'll probably be looking at, was it Leitrim's first game? they won, but they didn't win by too much. So the Kilkenny game, yeah, they're always going to shoot the lights out there. So they'll be turning up and going, do you know what it is? We have no fear. Leitrim's the team that are trying to get out of Division 4. Yeah, Wicklow would love to be there too, but Wicklow's the team now that they're just going to say, here, we're coming for you, and try and handle what we throw at you, and we'll try and slow you down and stop them from getting the goals, and we'll see where we're at half time. We'll regroup and we'll go again. But yeah, Wicklow will have a bit of confidence now, and that's all they needed. They do have a lot of skillful players, very speedy players. So I think Leitrim need to be not complacent and just think that every game's going to be easy now, and just go out and kind of put the game to bed, and maybe get a few more girls game time as well. Maybe rest a few, because I know Michelle and Leah and a few of those ones have been carrying knocks. So it'd be interesting to see the next few games how they play that out on their player management and player load.
Third place Offaly against fifth place Longford. Both of them on 6 points. Score difference keeps Longford third place at the moment. This is a massive 6-pointer, really, whatever way you look at it. And like, if Offaly can get a result, boost their chances after the defeat to Sligo last weekend from the Longford perspective, definitely need to, pick up the socks and try and get a result in this one.
This is the league changer one. So massive game. Whoever wins this, it's not saying they're in the semi-final, but they've made a massive gains to get into the semi-final. Longford have been to some brilliant players, and they're just starting to click. They've a wide range of scores, which is brilliant. Offaly, as I said, they're dogged, they're rugged. You hate playing against them. They don't know when to lie down. And they're the same. They have 2 or 3 amazing players. This one could go down to the wire, because both teams aren't going to lie down. It's going to be nip and tuck. And I'd say it could go down again to free kicks and discipline. Because see, whenever them tight games are happening, that's when the breach happens, because it automatically goes out of your head and you're like, oh shit, forgot. Because you automatically just want to go back and defend.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be the key. Who's going to be in charge of the breach line, and who's going to be more disciplined in defence? And that one could go right down to the wire. But as you said, massive league game swinger in this one.
And Sligo will have massive momentum after that win against Longford. And look, they host Kilkenny, and will be expecting to get a result against Kilkenny this weekend. And like we said about, like, Leitrim put up a big score on them, and Carlow as well. Like, Sligo can put up a big score. Not only will it boost the confidence of some of their sharpshooters, but as well gives them that little bit of a gap that if it comes down to the last round where, we're now tied with an Offaly on this points and they're in fifth, that little bit of score difference can really come in clutch when you need it.
Yeah. See, like, again, I hate being kind of like offensive to Kilkenny, but this is where teams need to be ruthless against them. Go for the goals, get the high scoring points up. Don't just go, sure, it's fine. Like, take your points and all this here. If the goal is on, you need to take your goal, because if it comes down to the wire and you don't make that semi-final stage because you thought, we'll be nice and we'll not hammer a team when the opportunity is there, it could bite you in the arse that all of a sudden you're stuck in Division 4 and you don't get a chance to get out. So Sligo, like the last team to play Kilkenny again, if it is down to the wire and it's point difference, they're going to be looking at it going, you know what it is? We need to go. So the teams that are playing each week need to be ruthless and to the point. There's no niceties in Division 4. You just gotta go for it and get out of hell when the chance is there, because the devil will be sitting waiting for you next year if you're not.
Yeah. So that's a look across all of the games that are taking place this weekend from Division 1 right down to Division 4. Some fixtures might see time and venue changes as the week progresses, so keep up to date with all of the fixtures on our website, of course, the LGFA website, and across social media as well. But that's it from another episode of our Ladies Gaelic podcast here on FinalWhistle.ie. My thanks to Emma once again, and of course Joanne, who's dashed off in the latter stages of the show, for joining us again this week. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next week for another episode with plenty of more frantic Ladies Gaelic football action to discuss.